Good evening, everyone. My name is Tetra, and I'm here with Lenna's Inception. Kemps, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
I am Kemps. I am currently the world record holder for Perfect. And I'm here with Tetra and Hupfin.
Yep, I'm Hupfin. I have run the normal ending, the sacrifice ending. There's a few. We'll talk about those. But Perfect Ending is a bit more interesting and more fitting for this event, as you'll see.
Absolutely. So, are we ready with the countdown?
Give me a moment.
Okay.
So this is... I'm going to start by saying that this is a roguelike. So the seed, AMIUM, is completely randomized. I've never seen it before. And we are ready for countdown.
Great. Well, let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so this is Lenna's Inception. We have a partially good start, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what that start was.
So you saw there are 8 students in Lenna's school. Lenna's a teacher, and her school things have gotten a little weird. But those students are going to correspond to the dungeons that we're going to see throughout the run, namely the bosses and the key items that we're going to be gathering and the order that we gather them in. Don't worry about what just happened there.
Fine. No glitches to worry about.
Nothing to worry about.
But yeah, you can see the obvious references to Zelda, and this is very much in the style of a Zelda-like game. And Lance is sort of the Link-like character who's, in theory, supposed to be the hero of the story, although it doesn't quite work out that way, as we're about to see.
He looks very heroic, though. You would think he'd be able to handle this.
Well, but here at Undefined Behaviour, we're all about querying and doing unusual things with video games, and I really can't think of any better video game to show, because Lance isn't exactly going to be the hero of the game. Now is he?
Well, not in the sense that you're usually expecting. Now, of course, since he's not exactly an experienced hero or anything, and Lenna is a teacher, Lenna's going to teach Lance how to hero.
No, Lance, what happened?
So, it's fine. He's taking a nap.
A very bloody nap.
What did you do to Lance?
We did nothing. Lenna did nothing. But now has to be the hero.
Happens.
Yeah.
So, now that Kemps has finished getting the sword out from level 1, I think he's probably going to go look at the library, and we're going to get our first introduction to Paige here.
Paige is the best.
Paige is the best. She's the town librarian. She will give you a little bit of guidance on the first couple of dungeons, but more importantly is activating one of the side quests that we're going to have to do. There's 8 side quests that we're going to have to complete throughout the course of this run. That's what makes it a perfect category run.
Yep, exactly. So in the beginning part of the game, we're just going to see Kemps getting the item from each of the dungeons and then leaving. If any of you have played Undertale, what we're going to be doing is somewhat similar to the True Pacifist ending in it, where we find what the bosses of the enemies really want, and then that later in the run, go back and sort of appease them and use our power of compassion so that they will leave the fights peacefully, instead of in other endings where it doesn't turn out as peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while I find this dungeon, I think we have time for some words.
Some donations?
Donations, yeah.
I love donations, and we have one left over from our previous run. We got $100 from Garby the Glitcherist. which I also cannot say correctly. I apologize, Garby. Celeste is such an amazing game, and Flygon is such a wonderful runner. Go Flygon! For those who missed it, our previous run was Celeste. Farewell. And Flygon just totally did an amazing job, so definitely GG's on that.
Yeah, and I loved the wave dashing presentation as well.
It was the best. I learned so much.
Except for part of you, she's the worst.
So here we have found level 2. As Kemps mentioned, this is kind of a roguelike, kind of a randomizer, if you will. So the overworld is going to look completely different. Hunting down the dungeons, it's kind of like if you've done the Zelda 1 randomizer. Nothing is where you might expect it to be. And the dungeons don't even look the same run to run.
Yep, exactly. And even the boss order can be different, and that can have a big difference in terms of how quickly the run goes, because some bosses have longer phases when you see them early or later in the game rather than earlier in the game. So you saw Kemps pick up the amulet from level 2. That will let him pick up items here, and here he's getting a undead tunic, which is not one of the more useful ones.
Now, as I said, it swaps healing and poison, so there are moments where you can make use of it. If you're dealing with a large amount of snails, they leave a poison trail behind, so those rooms become just free with that, but it is not exactly a time save.
So we have a question from chat, actually. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead. Right ahead.
Asking, how do you speedrun a game you've never seen?
So there are things in this game that we know what's happening, essentially. There's some things that are the same from seed to seed, and there's some things that aren't. Is the short answer to that question.
Yeah, so for example, we were talking about the items and the bosses varying, but the first and last dungeon, those always have the same items and the same bosses. The last couple of dungeon areas, not necessarily the last dungeon, those are always the same.
Already did it.
The other answer to that question is that you can, after playing it enough and practicing, even if it's a slightly different seed, you do generally the same things in the same general order. So being practiced in terms of knowing what to expect and having a plan can also really help you speedrun it. That's a meteor there. Those give you sword and equipment upgrades, but aren't quite as useful in a speedrun. So you're going to see Kemps totally skipping those if he can.
Yeah, what you're really looking for early on are books for the page side quest.
Also to not mess up sliding block puzzles.
There are a lot of those sliding block puzzles. They're all, I believe they're always randomly generated. But there might be a set of templates or whatever. It's very easy to just brain dump a little bit and have to reset.
We talked about the pointer boss in chat. This is more the sliding block puzzle boss. Looks like these crabs here got a hover effect, but still making quick work of them.
Yeah, those can be terrible. The enemies in item rooms will always have some amount of effects on them. Earlier in the game, it's just one, and then it adds up over time. Sometimes that can be extremely annoying to deal with if you get a number that stack in unfriendly ways.
So you notice the Kemps is looking for various things in the overworld. The main things he's looking for are money so that he can buy potions later, and books just like the one he just picked up. We're going to need a total of 12 books by the end of the game to do the side quest with Paige that is required for a perfect ending.
Yep, we are also going to need a total of $1,000 over the course of the game to do a side quest that's up there in the bank that's currently running on a skeleton crew.
Yep. But we do run into that room to get that cutscene, because if we run into it later, the cutscene is longer.
And now we first meet the chairman, who's going to come up a little bit later in the game. Sort of the embodiment of a capitalist. And we'll see some themes on that coming up later as well. But now we found level 4, which is one of the 2 levels in the game where you don't actually go in the front door. You need to find the entrance from within the level, which is often what Kemps and any player will do to make fast warping back to the entrance possible later.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, but at the very beginning, you obtain the bicycle, which lets you fast travel to specific points. Any of the dungeon entrances, if you're in the overworld, along with a number of points of interest. When you're in a dungeon, it lets you warp to the room directly before a boss, or the entrance room, or if you happen to find a room that has a cave entrance. We are probably not going to find any of those, but on the off chance you do, you can warp to those as well.
Which can be useful if we need to warp to specific rooms. Sure.
So it looks like level 4 is pretty crab infested. We're going to be looking right now for the item, and that's pretty much the primary focus. Map helps, but what Kemps is really looking for is a key, because oftentimes the items will be key blocked in a level.
That's more west side, or sorry, east side though.
Yeah, it's more common in the later half of the game, if only because there's a lot more keys in the later half of the game.
But yeah, okay, now we see the growth effect here. But even though those enemies were much bigger, still not too much trouble at this point in the game.
Hey, it's a book. I need to remember that.
So now we're going to be following the chairman off to the eastern half. You'll notice that on the map, the overworld map, Kemps has only visited squares in the western half. But looks like we're probably going to be stopping for potions first.
Yeah, I don't want to die in level 8.
It is very easy to stay in level 8.
And pro tip, dying is not the best speedrunning strat in most cases. Not necessarily all cases.
Well, certainly in this game, you would like to not die. There are other dying-friendly games, but this is not one of them.
That took way longer than it needed to.
Yeah, as TRS said in chat, level 8 is not exactly everybody's favorite level. It can be very big and overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like we found the edge, or the western half of the bridge. And some more money and a tunic.
We will look at that tunic in just a moment.
Yeah, the tunics and the potions are all randomly assigned at the start of the game, with one exception, which we'll get to later on. So we don't know what that green wool tunic is actually going to do until we put it on. We do know that the first potion in the list at the west side shop, that is always the healing potion. So Kemps gathered a bunch, he knows what that is out of the gate.
Yeah, it was very considerate for the game's developers to put that feature in so that we at least know what a healing potion is. The developers have also been very... Ooh, defense tunic. Nice find.
Very happy about that.
That's kind of like a ring or, blue tunic or red tunic in a game. So that will make level 8 and the large levels much easier, because you're going to be pretty much on only 3 or 4 hearts the entire game. So this is our first introduction to sort of glitchy squares here. We'll see a little bit later, but part of the reason why, as soon as I heard about Undefined Behaviour, I thought Lenna's Inception would be perfect for it, is because you've got both glitches, procedurally generated levels, as well as a couple of queer themes that I won't spoil, but we'll see a little bit later. So we're going through level 5, and I'm going to be looking for the item here.
I think this is a pretty good time for donations.
Yeah.
Do you have any donations or announcements, Natara? That's all right. We can keep on talking a little bit. This is one of those entrances that we were alluding to before.
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries. Go ahead.
Sorry. So we got $20 from TRS Crazy P saying, excited to see Lenna's Inception tonight. Good luck, Kemp. And that brings us to only $100 left on the Ultima 6 Glitch Showcase. So that is tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to see that, we do need $100 more towards that.
Awesome. Thanks.
One thing you might notice is that I am spending as much time in water as possible, because water has the speed of the speed tunic, which is pretty fast.
Yep.
It being called the speed tunic and all.
I don't remember the exact multiplier, but it does. I can't remember if it's 1.5 or like somewhere around there. But it's meaningfully faster.
One other thing you'll notice is that you see these snails emitting some sort of poisonous, or could be something else, that with an effect. But right when he lifts the last one up, the game interprets that as it being dead or not present for purposes of dropping items. So picking up the last enemy in a room is often a good strat for getting the item a little bit earlier than you otherwise would be able to.
And throwing enemies into water is also a great strat. Enemies can't swim.
Yep. And endless pits are great for endless fun.
Endless fun.
What about pits that aren't endless? Are those also fun? Even if not endless fun?
We don't talk about those pits.
We do not talk about those pits.
Whoa. Whoa.
Another neat thing about these snails is that you'll sometimes see Kemps waving his sword in order to dissipate the potion. That's a great way if you're trying to avoid one of those trails and getting some potential ill effect, to take care of those a little bit quicker. Just a meteor.
Not what we're looking for.
Nope, this is not the key that you're looking for.
This is a face dungeon, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, there are certain layouts of dungeons that are pretty annoying when it comes to speedrunning, because the items tend to show up on the extremes of a path, and so some of them can be quite long. But it's not guaranteed, because again, the layout, the shell of a dungeon layout will repeat, but not even like what rooms connect to what ones.
So it looks like in this item room we have exploding lizrobes, as we call them, sort of the lizard version of wizrobes, if you get the reference from the Zelda games. And you do have to be careful about those explosions, because without any sort of defense effect or tunic, those are going to be doing 2 hearts of damage each. Oh, what is this? It's a bear.
It is a bear. And a...
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
Oh,
It's
goodness
bear.
gracious. This is incredible.
Yes. A number of the side quests are based on the east side of the map, or at least start there. And Kemps has found parts of 2 of them in the course of 3 rooms.
Yeah, these have been really good finds because in the practice seed we were doing last night, it took him a lot longer to find those. So being able to get those out of the way nice and early and having the axe for combat is really great.
Okay.
But if it looks like Kemps doesn't fully know exactly where he's going and searching a little bit randomly, that's because, well, this is a randomly generated overworld. So he's going through this very exact seed for the first time. So that's exactly why. Looks like we have a jungle theme for level 6, which is going to make it a little bit harder to find the boss later, but not too much to worry about now. This is also one of my favorite soundtracks from the game, so enjoy that. Level 6 is usually where we'll start encountering Lizrobes in urns, and looks like this one will be no exception. And of course, you always tend to find the meteors before the keys because, you know, the game knows.
The game knows.
Now, part of why we find these Lizrobes so notable, not only because the name makes them more adorable, they have a way of hurting each other. There's a bit of monster infighting because they spew out that fire, and they are not immune to fire. So I have seen them kill themselves.
And we're going to see later them kill themselves a lot, probably.
Which is definitely not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all. They can do that as much as they want.
Yeah, since this is the forest tile set, Kemps will be checking the map more frequently. It's harder to tell when a room is going to have an item drop of any sort compared to other tile sets.
Specifically in 32-bit, and in 8-bit it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, by the way, this game has 2 graphic sets. You can play it in 8-bit that resembles a Game Boy or NES, or 32-bit, which is more like SNES or Game Boy Advance. They are functionally and behaviorally the exact same game. It's just 2 different graphic sets.
Does the music change along with that graphic set to match?
It does.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you can tell the developers of the game put a lot of work into it. So if you're out there looking at this, thank you very much for the wonderful game. They've been also really friendly to the speedrunning community. Based on some feedback, they made a big change with the in-game timer to make it more realistic to how speedrunners want at times. So it's always really awesome when you have a developer that keeps the speedrunning community in mind as users. So
yeah, you will see runners use either version because again, there's no gameplay difference, so it comes down to personal taste.
Yeah, I personally love the 8-bit one, but most other folks choose 32. It's really up to you.
You ever forget that you had an axe?
If I have, I don't remember because I can't think of myself as currently owning an axe.
But it does make life in the video games a little bit easier.
A little bit.
Particularly with the crab enemies, since those have go between invincible phrases and not, but the axe is usable on them in both. It can make killing them much quicker.
I very much should have just grabbed the boss room there, unfortunately.
Oh well.
Oh well.
So yeah, that dungeon held bombs, so we'll be able to actually use bomb arrows, which are a lovely convenience. They are a lot faster for handling a number of enemies, and they don't actually cost you arrows to use.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, it only costs you the bomb.
Interesting.
On the bomb boss, we actually use bomb arrows because we have a lot of bombs then, and not a lot of arrows necessarily.
So here we are at level 7. In this one, Kemps will be picking up the spring, which is the last unpredictable item of the game.
Nice find with the library book there. How are you doing on library books, by the way?
I don't remember what it said I had. I would guess I'm probably around like 5 or 6.
Bad for this point in the game.
It's not the best, but not bad, yeah.
So about books, we had a question about that. The reason why we want books is because the librarian in this game, Paige, is important for a side quest that's going to be necessary for the perfect ending. Paige is also one of the non-playable characters, or sort of like a companion to help you out and even participate in combat. As we'll see later, Paige literally throws the book at enemies. Throwing books is her primary weapon.
Just so you know, stream is currently down.
Oh,
Oh no!
Should I stop?
Excellent question. Might be a good idea just to pause for a second.
I have paused.
Because the RTMP is still up, no problem. Well, they can hear the mic still. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I have a donation I can read while we're waiting here. I'm not so good at jokes, but we have $10 from Danstad, which says, "Greetings, everyone. I wish to thank Tetrally for introducing me to Lenna's Inception. It's definitely a game I plan on playing again shortly after this marathon. Let's put this towards ribby-rabby formal clothing. Keep on grooving, all." So with that, that brings that incentive. I believe formal is in the lead right now. The choices for that outfit are are Halloween, formal, and normal. Formal is in the lead with $95. Halloween is lagging very shortly behind with $83.69, and apparently no one's interested in normal whatsoever. But it's not too late to change that.
Undefined Behaviour, we're kind of not doing the normal thing, so kind of fitting.
Exactly. So we're going to just go to a setup screen right now, and we will be back shortly as soon as we get the stream back up. Thanks for sticking around, everyone.
Wunderbar.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Looks like everything is back, so let's get this run going again. Do you need a count back down to start up?
Sure.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, start.
Right, so where we left off was in the middle of level 7, looking for the last item of the game, or at least the last movable item between dungeons, and this is going to be the spring, I believe.
Yep.
So this right here is the reason why the axe is amazing. These
Yeah.
enemies are not necessarily able to be damaged with the sword, but they always can be damaged with the axe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes, especially when they have effects added, can be a real giant pain in the rear end. Speaking of those bottomless pits from before, Lenna can fall in them as well.
Surprisingly friendly item room, though. Just one burning skeleton with a katana. Totally fine. Nothing
Totally
to worry
fine.
about. Yes, this has now granted Kemps the ability to jump over pits. We have this dungeon as Dungeon 7. It is pretty much always going to be on the east side because of how the game kind of decides priority and how it generates things. I believe someone in the community calculated it's only a 5% chance that you will get that dungeon as number 2 or 3. Actually, no, as 3 or 4 rather, because I don't believe you can ever get it as number 2.
Picking up a lot more library books over on this side of the screen, which is great. As we said, we're going to need 12 of those, and really ideally want to have 8 coming up pretty soon. So you're probably going to see Kemps doing a little bit more overworld searching for those. Nice, another one.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I cannot get to where I need to go from the bottom. I have to go from the top.
Yeah, sometimes you have these seeds where you take what seems to be the right path, and then you run into a block and then realize, oh, wait a minute, I was completely wrong. I have to go all the way around and go over the river and through the woods, sometimes quite literally.
Yeah. This game's procedural generation is sometimes very good at emulating that Zelda-style overworld design, which includes really roundabout ways to get somewhere that's right over there.
It's right over there, though.
One of the side quests we're doing is also finding the traveling salesman. We need to visit him, I believe, a total of 4 times in order to get the item we need for later. And he comes in a random place every time. So, nice use of the pit there to take care of that spider.
Here we go.
That was awful. So now one of 2 skips that we know about in the game.
Yeah, we're going to be going through the basement of Professor Maxwell's laboratory here. Nice, first try with the skip. That saves a number of combat screens over on the west side of this, making quick work. And there's, you barely got down here, and there's Professor Maxwell who we're rescuing.
Yeah, this whole area is meant to be kind of an item check and a skill check to make sure that you're properly equipped before going into the last dungeon. Fortunately, we can just skip half of it with that jump that Kemps did.
I just now realized that I have not checked the tunic I just got. Oh, that's well timed.
Strength tunic is very nice.
Nice. That doubles the damage, or maybe not doubles, but significantly increases the damage you do.
Yes.
Also want to point out some of the backstory that we skipped here is that Professor Maxwell's assistant, Delvin, who we'll see a little bit later, ran into a problem where he, believe it or not, actually ordered a pizza, only got about 255 pizzas as a result, probably because of some overflow error, and tried to put them in the fridge. And that didn't go over so well and caused some of these issues underground. So Professor Maxwell, right before he uses the earthquake machine to send you into level 8, actually says, hey, if you see Delvin down there, let him know he's fired. Just to fill in a little bit of the backstory while we're looking for keys and the item here.
Delvin deserves to be fired. Let's be clear.
Yeah. There are other ways to handle an excessive amount of pizza, and I would say his approach is not optimal.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
That's putting it mildly.
Do we know what shape level 8 is yet? And by the way, as background, we should say that even though the layout of the dungeons and what enemies are in each room is completely random, the overall shape of the dungeon comes from only a small number of predefined sets.
It looks like diamond to me.
Yeah, so knowing the potential layouts can help a lot when speedrunning.
Yeah, there are certainly some layouts that are more annoying to have to deal with, but diamond can be relatively friendly.
Yeah. Because everything really doesn't have much of a chance to be often on its own.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of beefed up stealth bosses here, and also on fire.
It's fine.
No.
We killed most of them.
Yeah. So this is why Kemps grabbed those healing potions earlier, and frankly, that room is going to scare you. I think I've had more deaths in there than to most of the bosses.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, the level 8 item room really is the true final boss of the game.
Yeah, because these guys have... I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 potion effects applied to them. Also, don't worry about what these glasses are doing. Things are getting interesting now.
This is fine.
Yeah, this is fine.
Oh, and we're now going into Glitch City, and you'll see that these missing glasses that Kemps picked up have a pretty cool effect. You can actually scroll through the sides of the screen in a nod to one of the screen scrolling tricks you can do in The Legend of Zelda. And this is actually the main reason why we leave dealing with the bosses until later in the game. Is because once you have these glasses, you can basically just scroll your way through each level and find the boss room, even bypassing the boss key that you would normally need. Exactly, Sex. Bounds, where we're going, we don't need bounds.
Although that said, good luck trying to screen wrap out of the island itself. You will sink into that water. So we did find one of the other side quest locations, the Beta Cave.
Yeah, but I think you normally wait until having Paige before going through that, right?
Oh, certainly. We'll be coming back to that later.
And speaking of Paige, we have yet another book, which is awesome.
Okay, let's go ahead and do this.
And so here is the final dungeon of the game, the Palace. This one is not randomized. It is always the same layout every time. Small variations in terms of like the tunic that we see in that cell. But other than that, the path is always the same, so Kemps knows exactly where he's going at every time.
Yeah, and we should also give a shout out to Quantum Zari, who really refined the route that you take in this game. And if you're on an ending where you don't need to search for various things, you can actually do it, I believe, in just over a minute, like a minute 10 to get to the green key. So this is basically the only static part of the entire game. And it also requires the use of those missing glasses to do scrolling in order to make it possible. So I really love this because it's almost like a puzzle using the screen wrap mechanic.
Yeah, those blue tiles that you're seeing, the blue kind of circular square thing, if you step on that, it warps you to a specific spot in the palace. So they actually prevent you from doing certain screen wraps. You can't just go about however you want. Squircular, exactly.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun puzzle to figure out casually. And it looks like we found the traveling salesman again. But we'll need to make use of the specs in order missing glasses in order to get over to him. So yeah, at this part in the run, we're really just sort of doing all the various side quests, getting items we need. For each of the 8 bosses in the game, we're going to need a very specific item that, as part of their backstory, is the one thing that they really want to have. So this will take a little bit longer. It looks like we're going to be doing Tressa's side quest now. So while we're going through some of the various side quests here, now would probably be a great time for any donations or announcements that you have, Natara.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let me just talk about the charity that we're currently fundraising for, the Trevor Project. So for this event, we are raising funds for the Trevor Project, an American nonprofit organization that focuses on suicide prevention efforts among lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, queer, and questioning people under 25 years old. It operates the Trevor Lifeline, a confidential service that offers trained counselors through a toll-free phone number. The Trevor Project is committed to producing research that brings new knowledge and clinical implications to the field of suicidology, and also advocates for laws and policies that will reduce suicide among LGBTQ+ young people. We're delighted to support this invaluable, life-affirming organization. And I'm sure so many of the folks who are watching are at least vaguely familiar with the Trevor Project and what excellent good work they do. And so far, we have raised $1,374 for the Trevor Project. So our goal is to get $4,096. And if we can get that by the end of this event, that would be absolutely amazing. And thank you already to everyone and their current generosity. We do also have donation incentives that you can donate towards. Many different naming incentives for a lot of the upcoming games. Some of the incentives will unlock as the marathon goes on. Currently, though, we have the Ultima 6 Glitch Showcase, which currently needs $95 more in order to unlock. You definitely want to see that. And all of the names for all of the Final Fantasy IV characters, or at least some of them, for Final Fantasy IV NES, a Chinese demake tomorrow, which you are definitely going to want to see.
So I do want to say something real quick. So this is a skip that we found that's actually pretty interesting. So when you get 8 books, Paige is going to call you and tell you that, hey, you need to come talk to me. Funny enough, we actually need to talk to Paige right now. And because of that, instead of telling us, hey, you need to come talk to me, Paige is going to say, hey, you're looking for Tressa, right? Which is very useful for us, because we don't get the page text that wastes time, and we don't have to go talk to Paige to get us to be able to see Tressa.
And also, while Natara was reading off why we're putting on this wonderful event for this wonderful cause, Kemps went and encountered the girl with the golden locks, specifically named, and went through a little bit of almost a side-scroller kind of, or auto-scroller kind of thing, just hiding from her and getting one of the key items that we need, the police report.
So now Kemps is doing sort of a fetch quest with a trading sequence, a little bit reminiscent to the one from Link's Awakening, for those of you who played that, where you go from a glass of water to a red paper clip for someone in an office, and eventually go to this sketchy guy looking here after you get a pen and... Oh, Creepy Jack, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So finishing that quest here.
Oh, I need to call Tressa. Oh, I need... No, it's fine. I need Paige to call me. Just whenever she feels like.
There we go.
The other things in this game... Oh, we're going to be entering the security questions for Tressa here. You can actually order a pizza in-game.
Mm-hmm.
It's...
Not a real life pizza. We should probably clarify.
Oh, yes. An in-game pizza.
Yes, and it will take a set amount of time to arrive, and then it will arrive wherever you are. They're very good about their deliveries.
And there's a really funny video from someone in the community who just coincidentally had it timed such that the pizza was delivered right to the final boss room.
I got way too much money.
It's okay.
That's fine.
So we're going to be depositing depositing $1,000, withdrawing $999 of that, and then taking an IOU for the rest. But wound up getting so that IOU is actually necessary for one of the bosses later. So that's why he's doing that. Check another side quest off the list.
Yeah, and finding the traveling salesman will be working on finishing up more of the trade sequence and then finishing up his side quest.
Yeah, and also to clarify for the pizza, it's not really a useful speedrunning tactic, or at least I can't think of a way you would use it. But, oh, another book. This is, I believe, the 10th it looks like, so
yeah.
Getting almost there.
Got a good stack of them back to back at least.
I was going to say a good strategy for ordering the pizza in the speedrun is you can't speedrun as effectively when you're hungry, so order pizza, right?
Right, exactly.
Can't argue with that logic.
I think I just want pizza.
You might just want pizza.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, we have completed the side quest for the traveling salesman and gotten his book of changes. We're now completing the trading sequence to get the binoculars.
Oh, and I missed it, but there's a bear.
There
There's
was
a
a bear.
Hmm.
And now he's not naked anymore. Hooray.
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
So we really only need one more book because the last book we can buy.
Yeah, we just had to find the room that has it.
There it is.
There we go.
Oh, that's not going to work.
So close yet so far.
So far.
It's also really neat seeing some of the glitchy text that wavers back and forth. You'll see that a little bit throughout the game. Even one of the bosses later it has one of those glitchy letters in his name. So there's the 12th book. So now we're going to be probably going to see Paige pretty soon if I had to take a guess. And stocking up on lots of healing potions.
Way more than I need.
Better to be
this is a
safe.
marathon
Where it
run,
is, yeah.
so want to do it safely.
Yeah, so one thing that we did mention, but I want to emphasize, Kemps is doing this entire game on 3 hearts. That's not much health. And some of these later fights are going to get pretty scary.
Yeah, in the sacrifice ending, which is one that Huffin and I run more often, you wind up having, more like 10 or 11 hearts. So when you're doing that, it's much easier to tank the final bosses and make use of potions. But unfortunately, Kemps is not going to have that luxury. So here we're going to be seeing some marshmallows here, which is what Paige is going to want for a little sort of campfire. So since we need, I believe, 10 of those anyway, Kemps is going to be going into this side quest area multiple times in order to get the requisite number of marshmallows here. And as soon as he does that, Paige is going to have a little red exclamation point come up, and now we're going to have our little campfire side quest here, our cutscene.
Yep, and they have a little date. And right back to the monsters.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a fun game for a queer marathon without a little queer date there.
And you gotta give them credit that the monsters respect that and give them some space and some privacy before going back to trying to kill them.
They may be monsters, but they're not monsters.
Oh, of course.
But unfortunately, not all monsters in the world are quite like that, so it's really great that we have organizations like the Trevor Project to help give LGBTQ folks the support they need, and this marathon supporting the Trevor Project is really great to see. So thank you to everyone who's helping to organize it and make it possible.
Yeah, we see the one time that the undead tunic actually coming in handy.
Yeah, since Kemps got poisoned, by reversing the poison and healing effects, we were actually able to take advantage of the potion there. You do have to be careful though, because while you have it on, any heart or healing item is going to harm you. So you need to make sure to be careful when wearing it. I believe these lizards here are the last round, so we're going to be finishing up pretty soon. And you can see some of them firing each other, which is what Huffman was talking about earlier.
Okay, we're ready.
Nice.
Yep, Kemps just received the last of the key items with that patent. And now it is time to go visit bosses. First one being the first one, Azraflail.
And as TRS pointed out in chat, we are in go mode now, have all the items needed to finish the game. Making good use of the defense tunic here, even though with Azraflail, who's sort of more the introductory boss, you don't need it too much, but always nice to have in a marathon run where safety is paramount.
And rather than defeating the boss, Lenna uses the power of compassion and the power of binoculars. And Azraflail leaves quietly. We have gotten the first of our 8. I don't even remember what they are called, actually. Also, we skipped a cutscene in there. There would be a bit of story and a bit of explanation, but we just skipped that.
Yeah, sorry for anyone who wanted to see it, but this is a speed run, so it's obligatory. Looks like our next boss is going to be Headraniel.
Which is unfortunate, because he's one of the fastest glitch phases.
Oh yeah, we should make a note about the glitch phases. All of the bosses in levels 4 through 8 have second phases that involve sort of glitchy sprites as a reference to some of the old NES and early console games. So basically, it's for the ones with shorter glitch phases. It's advantageous to have them early on in levels 2 or 3, which unfortunately didn't work out for this seed. But when you choose one at random, that's what you tend to get sometimes.
And so now we dip back into level 4. Since we have that map, we know exactly where we are going. This would be an opportunity to look for a secret room if Kemps wanted to. Levels 4 through 8 all have an additional secret room hidden somewhere in them. And those have secret items. Many of them are not terribly valuable, but one of them, it's great to come across. It is a single-shot revolver that will eliminate any enemy in one shot, including a final boss. So it saves the entirety of that fight if you happen to come across it. The problem is it can take even longer to find it in the first place, so it's not always worth doing.
Yeah, definitely a high risk, high reward type of situation. But if you happen to come across one of those rooms when scrolling through a level and you happen to see the revolver, definitely pick it up.
Definitely pick it up, yeah.
Also, that was Santa Quill.
The
He's
giver
great.
of unwanted gifts.
Dungeon 4 is the only dungeon that we can't immediately leave, essentially, right after finishing, because the entire dungeon's very much bigger than it looks.
And in some levels, it's going to be a little bit of a trek to find the boss, since we don't know exactly where they are, although Kemp's making quick work of this one, and comes across Sandolphin, the underwater boss. Unfortunately, Sandolphin is one of the bosses with longer second phase that we will see
Well,
shortly.
no, this does not have a second phase.
Oh, you're right, because we're in level 3. My bad. But we'll see other bosses' glitchy phases, don't worry.
Yeah, as Kemps did demonstrate, you don't have to do the levels in order. You kind of have to enter them in order to get the key items to access the next one, but you can finish them in whatever order you want.
I generally go from left to right on the screen just so I don't accidentally re-enter levels.
Yeah, or miss one.
Okie-dokie.
Now, level 6 we mentioned earlier was the one with the forest or jungle theme. One of the things that makes this a little bit harder for the boss rush part is that in screens that aren't part of the game, as we see here, there's trees throughout the entire screen, which makes it much harder to navigate through. So this is really the only level that we'll see Kemps actually going through close to the intended way, but making some use of the glasses here.
Yeah, once you got a direct line to the boss room, you're fine, but getting to that line is the first step. And we get to visit our very good boy.
So there is... Oh, do you
friend.
want to talk about the speedrunning strat for the phase later?
Oh, sure. So Kemps is going through the cycle here. There's some bubbles. Take care of the tentacles. Do the damage. And then he's going to ram, or not. If you stand in just the right position, it will actually skip a whole bouncing around the room cycle. And just go straight to the next combat cycle.
I got it. Yay.
Nice. It's weirdly harder to do it the second time than the first.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do Crabadon.
Oh, yeah. Grabadon is one of the bosses that you really do want to get early.
Sorry, I just looked at my arrows and did a womp womp noise in my head.
But there's another memory for the list. This is actually kind of a weird one to work with. Or not.
Got there.
Oh my goodness.
It's Catsio!
It's Catseal.
Oh my goodness.
This is
My
the
favorite
best
boss
mod.
of the game.
Yeah, mine too.
Everyone's
Oh.
favorite boss, unless you're playing in 8-bit, then it's terrifying.
It is absolutely terrifying in 8-bit. All of the bosses
Kitty.
are nightmare fuel in
Yeah,
8-bit.
please get your cat emotes out in chat. And the second phase, or the glitchy phase, is even great, a throwback to the Konami code, as we'll see. Where you actually have these little joystick things, you actually have to hit in the right order of the Konami code, otherwise you have to start all over again.
That is amazing.
Oh no.
As Kemps has just demonstrated.
Oops.
Stupid bats.
Yeah,
Darn
those
Konami code boss.
those slime bat glitch things are there just to make you accidentally swing the wrong way too close.
But before doing the last one, you use the power of compassion, and just like the other bosses, she leaves peacefully. Alright, so I think we're down to only 2 more here, and
Yep.
coming up on the hour mark in-game time. Here's Krabadon, who, as we were alluding to, is not one of the best bosses to do the second phase of. Krabadon kind of reminds you of the Goma from the original Legend of Zelda games. Except, I think Krabadon... we never figured out whether Goma was a crab or spider from the original game, but this one's definitely a crab.
Definitely crab. Looks very crab-like here. Don't worry about that.
Oh, yeah, still crab. Don't worry. Nothing
yeah.
to see here. This is fine.
This might be the creepiest crab I've seen in my life.
You know, I'm inclined to agree. I was about to say you should see more crabs, but no, I'm inclined to agree. And it's one of the most annoying glitch phases because it's much longer than some of the other candidates, and those spinning eyeball face things, as Kemps is showing, they're deceptively hard to hit.
Yeah, really, the only thing you can do about them is to if you hold down the arrow button, you can sort of strafe back and forth, which makes it a little bit easier, but even still, it can be very challenging.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, Kemps had to go with that strategy.
Yeah, not as fast, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Anyways, he has to wait for it to be vulnerable for the last hit before using the power of compassion. So again, it's just so much slower compared to alternatives.
Can I note how much I love the names on all these bosses?
The boss names are wonderful. This game loves its puns. I made that Skeleton Crew comment earlier. That's the game's joke. That's not my joke. I can't be blamed for it.
Yeah, and I
Give me
believe
blame for making it.
and I believe all of the boss names are actually puns of actual angel names.
All the
Like
ones I've
Azure-
seen. Yeah.
Level 8 strikes again. And it can be funny, even with the glasses to let you scroll all around, can still be challenging to find the boss room when you don't know where it is.
There it is.
Alright. And here we come across the last Archangel, Hatsaya, who's a little bit of a magician here, and likes to play card games with you later. Here Kemps is doing a little bit of a skip where by just holding out his sword, he's able to kill all these bats one by one without having to actually track them down. And he's going to be using his glasses here to be able to see Hatsaya when she becomes invisible and goes into a glitchy phase.
She also moves slightly faster if the glitch is up.
Oh, good to know. I didn't know that. You learn new things about this game every day.
So you also see that wheel of cards attack that she does, and it telegraphs like, here's a bomb, here's a heart. That is where they're going to go at the end of the spin. It doesn't randomize the location. It's literally telling you, stand here for a heal.
Yep, so since we saw the sort of upper left corner be a heart, you know, we're going to be able to get a little bit of a heal that way. Perfect. And now for the real fun part. Don't worry, Hatsai is still the same. No need to worry. That
You also-
noise she makes is really creepy.
Oh yeah. You couldn't see it, but she does force you to the outside of the room as part of her attack. So that's why Kemps was standing where he was.
All right, so now we've collected all 8 of the memories from all 8 of the bosses, and we'll be going back into the palace and going to the final part of the game. In this next room, we're going to be seeing 2 sort of Stalfoses or skeletons with axes. I believe they're named Edgar and Alan after the poet. Forget exactly how that fits into the mythology of the game, but we see Paige helping out with the fight, which is awesome. And now we get to see the chairman's true final form, when he quite literally becomes a capitalist pig, Gammon Mammon, who we won't actually see his pig attacks, because the way he's going to skip is take an intentional hit by ramming into Gammon, and then that actually skips an entire phase where he tries to hit you with little pigs. And then you have that sort of Aghanim-esque fight with the money ball. So you just have to do this, I believe, 5 times.
4 times.
And really, yep. And really the hard part is just avoiding getting hit by the money ball there.
Yeah, getting perfect positioning on those punches to skip the phase. If you're a little too early or a little off, you will take damage or not trigger the skip.
That was early.
Yep.
Oh no, it was not. It looked early.
Well, you did take damage, so it wasn't perfect, like a lot of those were.
Yeah, even though this is a perfect ending run, it doesn't literally have to be perfect.
So strength tunic was great. Let's change.
Yeah, you're
that-
definitely going to want fire resistance tunic for what's about to come.
Yep.
Yeah, that is the first boss of the game that we've actually killed. And now here's Delvin, and here's Delvin's true form.
Yeah, this is the boss that you'll skip usually with a revolver, if you have it. But like we said, usually takes more trouble than it's worth. And Delvin, for those of you who remember, back in the laboratory, was actually Professor Maxwell's assistant. So this is one of the main reasons why he is fired. And now literally using that purple fire as a attack. So generally the strat for this is just to hold out your sword, get as much damage as possible, DPS him down while tanking as much of the damage as you can from him. I believe he has 4 different phases, is that right, Huffin?
Yep. So we're already on to phase 2.
And you can already see... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say the fire resistance means that those purple flames do nothing to Kemps.
And you can definitely see some throwbacks to the Ganon and Aghanim fights from old Zelda games. But definitely a lot glitchier, as you can already tell. I believe in, maybe not this phase, but the next phase, you actually do see a screenshot of the overworld from the actual seed. So that's another kind of fun thing that the game throws in.
Yeah, that was at phase 2, and now it's using like a weird after effect of the screen, which at the moment includes Kemps' menu. And now Delvin is using the UI against you.
Yeah, quite literally using your weapons against your own tools against you. But
And for the record, you can use the power of compassion on this fight. You can even use it against the chairman if you so choose. We don't, mainly because why? Also, if you use it against the chairman, it's actually slower than just killing him outright.
hey, excellent fight there.
Just as we were about to clean up the game and clean up the world, the Archangels were like, well, who says anything about fate, you know?
Whoops. That was the wrong place.
So now we have a level select for the world that Lenna exists in. This is a video game, and this is a video game. And this is Lenna's old school. And this is the fridge of evil.
Uh-oh.
And now we're the fridge fighting against Lenna? Or Lenna is fighting the... It's about to get very confusing.
Yeah, so if you like glitchy and queer games, this is the right game for you. You don't get much glitchier and weird than this. Yeah, and as SexRex is pointing out, this is a reference to the 8F glitch in Pokemon. There's a number of Pokemon references here, like with the bicycle.
And we actually saw the Elder being a little creepy. Things are getting weird.
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, I need to remember to save this guy.
Yes, it's time to battle Lance.
Wait, I was dead. Well, apparently not.
No, we've saved. I think that is that save's coming? I don't think that save's coming, but we saved him.
Love the RGB CRT effect as well.
And now we're Lenna, but we're also Lance. We were Lenna a minute ago, and now we're Lance. And the walls are trying to kill us.
Yeah, like they do.
Yeah. Fortunately, your items are infinite at this phase, as long as you had one in your inventory at the time that you got here. So Kemps can just spam healing potions infinitely, because he had at least one on hand.
You do have to be careful because he can't really see his health at this point, so that's why they just spam them away.
They actually use that undead tunic quite cleverly, because you have to take a death there. So undead plus healing equals instant death.
Whoops.
Oh.
If any of you are having trouble following this fight, that's completely normal.
And
That's time.
so do we want to explain what just happened? Can we explain what just happened?
We removed the pizza from the fridge, is what happened. Which fixed the glitch. And this is what you donated for.
Yeah. And since this is a perfect ending, you get a nice little smooch there.
Yep.
And a second one from Paige. Aw.
Yep. It's all so sweet.
Yeah.
Speaking of that kiss, can I read out a quick 2 donations which came in during the run?
Absolutely.
Oh, we came in. That's great. So we got a $10 donation from SexRex saying, Lenna's Inception was a perfect match for this event. Glad to see it and everything else on the awesome schedule all week. We got $20 from TRS Crazy P saying, another $20 if you get the prince to smooch someone, and the follow-up $20 donation from TRS Crazy P saying, $20 for the smooch. Thank you so much for those. And I hope you enjoyed the smooches.
Thank you. Anyway, this was Lenna's Inception. This was perfect, so there was a lot of stuff going around, but if you want to just beat the game as fast as possible, the 80% seeded run is like 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it involves a couple of skips that let you go through really quickly and a lot of use of hover potions. So, and also as a casual game, this has been a lot of fun. I highly recommend it if you're into anything queer, glitchy, and nostalgic for the old NES Nintendo games.
Yeah, and especially fans of randomizers and roguelikes. That's a little bit of how I came into this myself. It definitely scratches that itch.
Perfect. Well, looks like we're done with that one, and we're going to go to our up next screen and get ready for our next run, which will be the Rabby Ribby Rando. It's a co-op run by Starisms and Freya's Spirit, so definitely look forward to that. And thank you so much for our current runners and commentary team for that amazingly glitchy run.